Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Just Love Them podcast. I'm your host, Cherie Best. Join us as we discover how to stay connected, how to heal our hearts, and how to deepen or salvage those relationships with the people we care about who have made religious decisions that are hard for us. Today, I have a special guest. We're joined by someone who has dedicated his career to helping families heal, reconnect, and thrive. Emil Harker, a licensed marriage and family therapist with over 25 years of experience working on the front lines of family transformation. Emil's a returning guest who has worked everywhere from hospital crisis units, inpatient child, adolescent, and adult behavior units, residential treatment centers, and even wilderness therapy, giving him a unique window into what families go through when a teen is struggling. He's been in private practice since 2007 and is the creator of rtcparents.com, a training and support program that helps parents reduce conflict, stay emotionally grounded, and become powerful allies in their child's treatment process. Emil's communication framework has not only helped parents and teens rebuild trust, but has also been endorsed by leading experts like Dr. John Gottman. He's the author of You Can Turn Conflict into Closeness and Confidence in Conflict. He's trained Fortune 500 companies, treatment teams, and families across the country on how to turn breakdowns into breakthroughs. He's had special training in motivation interviewing, common sense parenting, and he's a certified trainer from the Arbinger Institute. Welcome, Emil.
Gosh, that's a long thing. That's a lot of stuff when you read that.
I know, it's impressive.
I know. I was like going, gosh, that sounds like a pretty cool guy. I want to get to know him. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to have you back. You've been on a couple other times, but it's been
yeah,
quite a while. I'm so happy you said yes to coming back. So thank you for that.
you bet. I'm happy to be a part of your program. I love what you're doing. Your material is so fantastic, and your topics are so relevant to today.
Thank you. Thank you. And we recently had our 100th episode. So that was kind of a fun milestone celebration. We were really excited about that. Well, I asked you back today because I had somebody, one of our listeners, reach out and ask me a question. And the minute I read the question, Emil, your name just came to mind. I just thought you were the one to address this, not me, not anybody else I know. It just felt like you were the one. And I'm going to tell my listeners what the question was. This is what my listener wrote. She said, I have an issue I would love to see you address in the podcast if you haven't. I'm having a hard time putting just love them in my heart without occasionally feeling like a doormat. I can accept my children as individuals and that they're simply not interested in who I hope they would be or in following who I raised them to be. But there are many times, and this is the crux of it, there are many times when I feel like just love them equals allow them to take advantage of me. How do I draw the line? And that's what I reached out to Emil to talk about today. So thank you for being here to talk about that.
When I got that question, I wanted to explore that so much more because there's so much that's not being said in that question. It'd be nice if I could sit down and interview this person, but I'm going to take what I've learned and what I've experienced with other people, and I'm going to extrapolate based on the themes and some of the other questions that people have asked on your program to see if that would kind of pigeonhole it into that. Because there are so many different places we could go with that.
Right.
There's an assumption, and the assumption is that there's something that's going on that she doesn't feel like she can stay true to her boundaries. Okay, so when I hear that question, I'm going, we have a boundary issue, and boundaries are a very complicated conversation because people experience what boundaries are very differently. And so what I thought I would do, Cherie, is to share what I call the parable of the white carpet as a kind of a foundation to understand what boundaries are. Okay, you ready?
I love
You
it. Let's do it.
Okay, the parable of the white carpet. So imagine, Cherie, you have this brand new home, barely built. Okay, and one of the things that you wanted in your home was this beautiful white carpet. Not just any kind of carpet, but like alpaca, fur, that soft, like rabbity soft fur. and 3 inches of memory foam as the carpet padding. All right. So you want this to be like a spa for your feet. So when you walk around, you just go, oh, I'm so glad I'm home. Okay. So you have this installed and you're so excited about sharing this amazing white carpet and the softness of the memory foam that you invite your friend. And so you call up your friend, your son, your daughter, okay, whomever it is, and you say, Jennifer, you're going to love this. I just have a new home, and we just barely finished building it. Inside, my carpet is like heaven for your feet. But when you come over, here's the problem. They're putting in sod, and it's been raining. And so there's like these pallets, and there's dirt and mud all over the place. So all I just ask you is when you come over, just take off your shoes before you come in. Okay? So here I
Sounds
am.
simple enough.
Right, simple, right? So here's Cherie, right? She is super excited. She baked brownies. She's got everything set. She's excited about this opportunity. And here comes Jennifer, okay? She knocks on the door, and you open the door, and she's going, wow, this is so exciting. This is great. And she's kind of like leaning in to come inside, but you kind of glance down at her feet, and she's got these like work kind of boots on that are laced up and they're filthy, okay? And so you're kind of like going, there's this awkward moment. I can't wait to see Jen. I want her in. But you know what I don't want is her muddy shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, Jen, I'm so glad you came over. If you don't mind, just kick off your shoes and come on in. And Jen goes, well, these boots are laced up. There's like a lot of laces. And I pretty much stomped off all the mud. So there's really nothing really that's going to cause a problem. And by the way, I brought you your favorite drink. I stopped by Fizz, got you that Dr. Pepper with the coconut cream that you love, supersized it 44 ounces as she starts to lean into the house again. And you're like, ah, you brought me my favorite soda. You're one of my favorite people.
The
Okay,
conflict.
right. So what's happening is we are at the threshold of a boundary. All right. What happens there makes a big difference. So here's what happens to not you, Cherie, but other Cheries in the world.
Oh,
What
uh-huh.
they what they do is they say, well, she's more important than the mud. Come on in. Come on in. And I'm just going to keep my eyes on the horizon, never look down.
Yep.
So she sits on the couch. She crosses her legs. She moves her feet around, all the while rubbing mud into your alpaca fur carpet. And what happens is this, and you're like going, oh, well, you got to see my house. So come
Oh,
on upstairs. Let me show you. I want to invite you, Jen, into my home because you're more important than the mud. All right. So then what ends up happening is they have a delightful time. Jen leaves. And what do the other Cheries in the world do? They get under the sink, they grab their cleaning supplies, and they get to work to scrub and scrub and scrub. And you know what they're thinking? Why couldn't Jen just take off her shoes? Seriously, she didn't even appreciate how delightful it was. She couldn't even feel the softness on her toes with her boots on.
mm-hmm.
And now I have to scrub these stains out myself, and she won't even appreciate the effort I put in.
Yep.
Okay,
Feeling totally taken advantage of, feeling
right,
totally disrespected.
right. So whose fault is it, right?
Good question.
It's the Cherie who lets them in, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if we let them in with their muddy shoes, then what we're saying is the work and the effort to clean up the mess is fine. So we can't hold that against them and say, well, they're disrespecting us. They don't support us and we're getting walked on all over.
Mm-hmm.
We make that decision and you're fine to do that. Maybe don't get white carpet, you know, Maybe get a different color of carpet so it's not so, in your face that you keep bending over to allow this to continue to happen. And so the boundaries are like, think of it this way. The porch. I'll let almost anyone, well, let's say almost anyone to the mailbox. Visit, chat, total strangers, right? People come and sell me stuff, they're on the porch. We have a conversation on the porch. That's it. Until they show that they care about what I need and what I want, then maybe I'll invite them into the landing area where I can shut the door because the landing area isn't carpeted. Okay.
Yeah.
Only the front room is carpeted. Like I have tile or maybe I've got hardwood that goes into the kitchen. So I might go into the kitchen, but I won't go into the front room because the front room is where the piano is and the guitars are and the white carpet. So there's different levels I can bring someone into my house, my heart, without them causing a problem. But if I give them free rein, I can't blame them for the messes that they make when I chose to let them in. And how can they ever appreciate it if I don't have a threshold that makes it comfortable for me? Because here's the deal, when Jen goes home, she's not thinking, oh, I hope she feels okay about the stains I left on the carpet. No, she's not thinking about that at all.
Yeah.
She's going, this was great. Isn't Cherie wonderful? Great. And
And
then next
Cherie's
thing you know,
thinking, I can't believe she disrespected me. I can't believe she took advantage of
right,
me. I thought she was my friend.
right.
Because
That's
Cherie
right.
said yes when Cherie should have said no.
Right. So let's say we go back to that threshold, okay? What we need to do is instead of for us to decide, well, she's more important than the mud, I'll let her in.
Because
We
that's
need
a
to,
real struggle, Emil.
that's
I mean,
right.
that's the real thing. Like, what's more important? Like, really, you're hitting me right in the heart, like, literally. What's more important? Is my child more important? Is my parent more important? Is my spouse more important? Or is this other thing that I care
Right.
about, like my boundary, more important? You are really hitting me in the heart here.
So we want to kind of flip it. We want them to ask themselves which is more important to them. Okay? If we don't make them choose, they won't. And if they don't choose, then they won't appreciate. The question we need to ask ourselves is not, are they more important than the mud? Because they are. What we need to have them ask is what's more important to them, their mud or the home? Okay? The carpet. Now, if we can take them in the home, but if we bring them in the home and they have their muddy shoes, then we can't blame them for the boundaries that they broke. No, we broke the boundaries. They're innocent.
And that's
Okay,
kind of
so
hard to accept at times, isn't it?
that's
Like
right.
we want to blame them. It's so much
Yeah, we don't want.
easier and it feels right.
Yeah, we're justified. We asked them to not bring their coffee in the house, to not bring their drinking in the house, right? To not bring the coffee maker or smoke or whatever it is
Yeah.
that they bring
Bring in
in.
the girlfriend that's going to sleep overnight with
Right,
them, or, I mean, a
right,
million other things,
right.
right?
It's either the things that they bring are either things, right, or topics, right? They bring their
Yes.
politics, they bring their opinions, their
Hmm.
attitudes, right? And so what we're saying
Hmm.
is, what are we willing to allow in our home where we're okay? And how much into our home, and sometimes we're talking literally the home, how much of that are we willing to bring them in and allow them to be a part of that home based on what they bring? So now I want to think instead of boundaries as being this wall, think of it as the selective permeable membrane. Okay. Just there's things that we allow and there's things that we don't allow. For example, I love my mother-in-law, okay, but in small doses.
Yeah.
Okay. I will sit and I will show her my keenest interest in her book clubs, in her vacations that she's planning, as she tells me so many things about how much she loves her family, but I don't hear anything from her all year, nor do my kids. As she says, I just love you guys so much. I love being together as a family. And I just go, that's a bunch of mud. Okay. Okay, maybe not mud, but dirt, right? And I'm like, and so what do? I just show interest in her for that moment, but I don't open myself up all the way. I'm not going to share and expect her to truly connect with me in a deep and meaningful way when that's not really an option. So sometimes if someone brings a topic, I have to ask myself, how do I want to handle that? Let's say we have a political difference, and my son can't wait to tell me how wrong I am. So what am I going to do? If I'm not prepared for that moment, then what I'm saying is you got to get out of the house, so to speak, or I'm going to be bullied. So
Yeah.
I need to have some tactics. So those whole communication strategies that we've talked about before, I need to have communication strategies and an attitude about turning that moment that they're trying to kind of poke me. I'm going to turn that moment into a bonding experience where they feel stupid about trying to poke me. So I'm going to say, tell me more. Tell me more about that. Because what do they expect me to do? They expect me to cringe, right? So they can feel powerful. And they're going, yeah. And I can do it right in front of your face. I'm going to rub my mud right in your carpet. Little do they know, we put stain guard down. Yeah, we did. We're not worried at all. Because being with you is important. I prepare my place for you emotionally and sometimes even physically. Like I've got nieces and nephews that they don't have the same values that we did. So they think like the coffee table is a race car place to run race cars on rather than a nice place that has, dowels and little napkins that we put things on. Well, if
Hmm.
we invite them over and I don't do something to protect it, whose fault is it? It's my fault. I can't be the victim when I let them in.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
All right. So prepare yourself emotionally, prepare yourself physically for when people come in. What do I want the outcome to be of that interaction? Am I trying to change them or correct them, or am I trying to connect with them? If I use my boundary as a way to change them, then I won't be able to change or connect.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so,
so
so
true.
sometimes I have to focus on the connection before the correction. So when my brother comes over, I don't like alcohol. I don't bring alcohol in my house. But when he comes over and he brings his beers, I give him the biggest hug ever. I'm going to love the crap out of you. Yep. I'm not going to go get him a beer out of the fridge. Okay. I'm not going to open it for him. You're going to have to do that work himself. But in that moment, for me, my decision is he's more important than the what he brings. And so instead of me feeling, oh, that's just not how I want to live my life, it is or it isn't. I could choose to not have him come over. That's my prerogative, right? I could say, look, if you come over and you drink, just don't bother coming over. Okay, so what's he saying? He's saying that the drinking is more important than him. And that's what I'm saying too.
Hmm. I have an example of this. For anybody who's listened to this podcast for a while, you may have heard Emil and I talk about this maybe a year ago, but I used to be very, very rigid. And I did not want alcohol in my house. I was so rigid that even energy drinks, I didn't even want energy drinks in my house. And when my kids would bring them over and stick them in the fridge, maybe they still lived at home or maybe they were coming over to stay for a few days. And if I would find that in the fridge, I am so ashamed to say I did this. I would pour it down the sink or I would throw it away because we don't have that in our house. We
That's
just
right.
don't
You
have that
don't.
in our house. I'm sorry. You know my boundaries and we don't have that in our house. Well, it's just like what you said. That not only did not change them, maybe it changed them in the way that it created resentment for me. It might have
Right.
changed them in that way, which is not the kind of change I'm looking for. And it also didn't create any connection. In fact, it created separation. I'm just really resonating with what you're saying because we want to create connection. And there are some things that are worth it. No, we may not want mud all over the carpet, but what can we do? Like instead of what can't we do, what are boundaries are we going to put in place? I love this permeability
Mhm.
idea of a boundary instead of like a hard, fast brick wall, because
Right.
I was that brick wall. And it created so much damage that I've now spent years repairing and turning that brick wall into a permeable thing where my children feel like they feel loved. And I don't have this hard, fast rule like you can't put anything in my fridge. I've learned to be more like what you're describing, but boy, it is a process. And the other thing I wanted to say about that is forgive yourself when you see that when you look backward and you see, oh my word, like I did, I was so rigid. I've had to forgive myself for that. And so as we're making these changes, as we're having these aha moments, as we're learning what to do, and as you continue to teach us through this podcast, for my listeners, forgive yourself. Have your ahas, make the changes, forgive yourself. So, okay, that's all I wanted to throw in.
I appreciate you sharing that. You know, it sometimes does take a while for people to change their perception of us. But one thing I heard is that you get a lot of momentum with the last three interactions that you've had. Okay, so you might have years and years and years of an interaction, but the last few are kind of what people start to gravitate toward in defining you. And I'm going to say one more thing to make it even better is if you can build them a psychological bridge from where you were to where you are. And so instead of just acting different, like they come over and you show interest in their political opinion, just to help them feel understood. That's it. You don't have to agree, and you're not there to change their attitude or their mind. And even if they have every intention for contention, you just understand them so much that they go, yeah. Because the last thing that they want to do is ask you what you think and believe because they already know. You've already told them,
Yes.
right? So when you show them how safe it is and how you're not going to fall apart because someone has a different opinion, which so many people do, unfortunately. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. Really? You just showed them you're not confident in your own position. Is that the message you want to send to them? Because now there's blood in the water and there's sharks and they're going to circle. But if you just go, tell me more. I've never really thought about it like that. That is so fascinating that you bring those things up. Tell me more. And you just got, that's a really good point. That makes a lot of sense from if I put myself in your shoes, that would make a lot of sense.
I learned
You just,
one other one to
yeah,
contribute to this, and it's I can tell that's really important to you.
yeah,
You're not agreeing, you're not disagreeing. I love these magic words. Tell me more, and the other things you said. And to add to that, just I can tell this is really important to you.
yeah. Because then what do? They go, yeah. And it creates what ends up happening is there's neurobiology happening right then. When you take the time to understand someone's position, especially when there should be you feeling uncomfortable. Okay. When they know that you're not on board, but you take the time to understand them, the neurobiology in them, they feel understood and it creates trust. Oxytocin is released when they truly feel heard and understood, which is fantastic because that's the lubrication for their mind to change. When they trust you and they feel connected, then their confidence in their opinion starts to crack a little bit because now they know you don't agree. And so now they're wondering, do I open myself up for a different opinion or do I wait? And for me, it doesn't matter. Waiting is like a marinade. I'll let that marinade soften that meat. So one day we might have a conversation where we can have a different opinion, but the opinions aren't what regulates the connection. It's the process of lovingly interacting on very different positions. We don't get to see that very often, right? We don't get to
Right.
see that model very often, but we can be very loving in an interaction and be completely opposed to their position. We don't have to be rude or hostile to bolster our fortitude to demonstrate a boundary. So the more we're loving and disagree, the more confused they get. If we're not loving and we disagree, they think that is contentious. Okay. And then what they do is they'll blame you for having
Yeah.
a different opinion than them. And you're the bad person.
Mm-hmm.
You're like going, you shared your opinion 5 times. I shared mine once. Now I'm the bad person.
Mm-hmm.
That's the logic of darkness. Okay. You can't talk yourself out of that. You just have to outshine them with composure and kindness to where they feel a little foolish. You can't do it mathematically. It's not like, well, you did it 5 times, I did it once, and it's good. Nope, nope, nope. The laws of logic don't work in darkness.
Which is so maddening when you're in it and you
Yeah.
don't understand what to do to get out of it. I love this solution.
So the suggestions would be is prepare your heart, prepare your mind, prepare your place. If someone's coming over, because if you don't prepare your mind, then you're going to create a narrative that you're being walked all over when it was your choice to have them come in.
Yeah.
Don't blame them when it's your choice because you're becoming a victim, and victimhood is very toxic because it takes away your power. But if you say, no, I choose to have them come in and I choose to let them bring their coffee or their tea or their whatever. Now, there may be some firm rules. Like there may be some, like when people come in your house, guess what? They're not going to be 100% clean. They're not sterilized. They're going to bring some dirt and stuff in. Like there are some pieces of mud I'm not going to tolerate.
Yeah.
Right? You want to bring a drink in, a couple of beers, fine. You're bringing marijuana in, not going to happen. In fact, that rule is way more important than you being in my house. I will sit out on the front porch with you, but I am not bringing you in my house. And so that way, that person has to decide, is it more important for me to exercise my right to do what I want to do when I want to do it and not be invited in the house? Or is emo more important than my crap?
Yeah.
And
Making
I need
them
to
choose.
accept that.
Yeah.
I need to accept that they might choose marijuana more than me.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they choose marijuana more than me, then we're both happier. Because that way that person doesn't feel controlled and I don't feel walked on.
I like that.
Boundaries aren't just for one person. Boundaries that are appropriate are healthy for both. If they start hurting one person, we need to evaluate the boundary.
Yeah. That is so good. And I love that opportunity to let them make the choice. Let them choose their boundary instead of you're putting in a boundary that you're going to try and enforce. It's such a beautiful solution to that problem because obviously we can't talk about every possible scenario, but if you just have that formula, then you can apply it to any solution. I know that for me, prayer is also another, like when you're not sure what the boundary should be and you're not sure what to say, you're not sure how to approach that. Where's that permeability supposed to be on that boundary? God can give us so much clarity through prayer and just give us wisdom and ideas that we just wouldn't think about on our own, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that the thing about preparing and or building that bridge, because I probably got sidetracked, is building that bridge is letting them know why you're doing things differently. If you change your mind about something, tell them why. Don't just change it because if you change, then you become really unstable.
Hmm.
But if you say, hey, you know what? I know that I've always said something negative every time you come over and I give you crap about you bringing your coffee. I'm not going to do that anymore. You know why? Because that's not that important to me. What's important to me is that you know I love you and that you feel welcome at our home. That doesn't mean bring your coffee maker to my house, okay? If you want to stop by Starbucks on the way, fine. But I have to have a limit somewhere. And that's why I'm totally okay with you. If you want to bring a coffee with you, totally chill. You might have to bring me a hot cocoa because that's the taxes you have to pay to be in home. It'll just be pleasant and fun about it. So now they go, okay, so now instead of them walking in every time wondering, okay, when does the statement happen? That smells terrible. Did someone bring coffee in? Did you have coffee before you came? See, that's just toxic. If I know that my son or daughter drinks coffee and wants to bring coffee with her, because that's what they do, it's part of their, brand or whatever, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare for that. Let them know, hey, look, in the past, I got uptight about it. I don't like it. I don't want it, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. And you know what? I'd rather have you here than not here. And since coffee's that big of a deal to you, knock yourself out. But I'm going to have a limit. Don't be bringing your Keurig, machines in. Because if you do, I will put them on eBay. I will sell them. I will keep the profits. And that way there's like this nice, clean boundary. And there's a bridge for them to understand what's changed. And they don't have that anxiousness.
And I think that bridge is made out of gold. I do, because I did struggle with relationships with my kids because I was just that rigid. Like what you've described, I was that person. It's just so sad to say that I was that person, but that's who I was. That's how I was raised. I thought that's how you did it. I perpetuated it up into a point where I was in so much pain because of my relationships with my kids that I was like, this isn't working. I got to do something different or I'm going to lose all my kids.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating because we're taught that we shouldn't allow the least degree of sin.
Right, right.
And then we're taught love your enemies, love your. Did someone do the math on that? Because I don't know how to do that. Like, what do I, how do I? And so it's
How do you do
confusing to figure
both?
out what those boundaries are.
Yes, but and that bridge of explaining why I'm making a change. And here's why. That is, I believe that bridge is absolutely made out of gold because that communication bridge is what changed my relationships with my children. It was talking about, and I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. I'm so glad I finally did the right thing. But that I I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. I just was in a place where I'm just a talker, so I would talk to my kids, okay, well, I'm so sorry and I'm so sorry we don't have a good relationship. I really want to have a good relationship. Let me apologize for whatever I can apologize for. And I'm going to do this different now because I care so much about you and I can see it's ruining our relationship. And having those conversations over and over because I had a lot to replace and repair. And but having those bridge conversations is literally what saved and built the relationship I have today with my children. And today, I feel like I have a good relationship with my children. And it's a miracle that I do. But that bridge is gold.
Yeah. This has been great because I could probably talk for a whole hour, and I know you got to, wrap things up, but it's so nice to have someone like you who's so sweet and humble, willing to share their experiences and share their journey of growth with so many other people that are stuck to. And putting all this time and energy into creating this program, you're a real blessing for a lot of people because it's a scary world out there when you don't know where to turn for answers. And there's a lot of different places that are willing to give answers.
Yeah.
And sometimes those answers, they're just not very good answers.
It's just like when you learn something good, don't you want to share it with someone else? And that's what like I got the miracle of healing my relationships with my children. Why wouldn't I share that? Why
Love
wouldn't
it.
I? So Emil, will you take a minute and just, if people want to connect with you, just talk a little bit about that or any
Sure.
way that you want people to connect with you or share anything
Well,
that would bring
here's
them
a couple
to.
of things because you can't really say everything in the intro, even though there was a ton of stuff. I'm at home now and I have my own like studio, my podcast Zoom studio, so that now it doesn't make it confusing for people. I can see clients anywhere across the country and I do. And so now I have a place that the picture's clear, the sound is clear. It doesn't feel like you're not here. And so if you need some coaching or you want to talk to somebody and you're having some relationship struggles, even though my specialty is conflict and relationships, my podcast, The Emil Show, is all about relationships. I still work with people who have anxiety and depression and substance abuse issues and addiction and pornography problems. So people know me as a relationship person, but my history, I've done, I don't know, I've done everything. But if people do want to get a hold of me, just have them email me at emilharker@gmail.com. Super simple, first and last name at gmail.com. And they can ask me any questions. And if it makes sense for them to meet with me, I can show them how to do that. But I always welcome people's questions anyway. It's fun to have people show interest. And so I take the time to answer people's questions when I can. And if it turns into a client, great. If it doesn't, great. We're doing our part in helping people grow.
Right. That's right. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom, your insight, and your sense of humor. It's been
Thanks,
fun.
Sherry.
Yeah, it's been fun. And for my wonderful listeners out there, let's keep this conversation going. Reach out and share your thoughts, your questions, your butt emails, your butt cheries on our private Facebook group. And we can talk about it more there. And you can throw any questions in there that you have, and we'll talk about it more on this podcast. So thanks for joining me. And please join me again next time for another episode of Just Love Them.